Hello, everyone! My name is Light, and welcome back to the lab. For today's experiment, we are going to build a zero-tick cactus farm. Now, cactus isn't something that we'll use a ton in our worlds. Most of us use it for green dye, but there's no harm in having a farm. This farm will give you many items per hour, and we'll do a calculation on that once we get done the build and run the farm for a while. All right. Any questions? Any questions today? Now, guys, last time I said I was going to end up switching you guys out if you didn't have any questions. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you one more chance, and if after the next time there's no questions, sorry guys, got to swap these out. Ah well. All right, so I'll take a moment, get us over to the build site, and we'll get on the go. All right, we are definitely going to need a lot for today's build. And look, I think this one's for sale. All right, so we'll go ahead and we'll take that. The materials that you will need for today's build include 3 pieces of cactus, 9 pieces of sand, roughly a stack of glass. You probably won't need quite as much, but have at least a stack. At least a stack of building blocks. Again, you probably won't need as much, but have at least a stack. 5 trapdoors, 1 bucket of water, 5 hoppers, 2 chests, 13 pieces of redstone dust, 3 redstone torches, 1 repeater, 3 sticky pistons, 3 normal pistons, and 1 lever. And as optional components, you may also want to consider having an additional 2 chests, an additional lever, an additional 2 hoppers, and a composter. Now I will show you an upgrade that you can do to the farm after we do the main build, which will use those particular components. Alright, so I'll go ahead, I'll get this stuff in my inventory, and we'll get started. Alright, I have our materials on hand, and we can start the build. The area that we're going to need is 7 blocks wide by 5 blocks deep by 7 blocks tall. So again, 7 blocks wide by 5 blocks deep by 7 blocks tall. Alright, let me get this out of the way. Perfect. In order to begin the build, we're going to start with the redstone clock. So grab your building blocks. We're going to want 1 here, 1 on top. This is a temporary. 1 off each side of the temporary to form a T shape like this. Get rid of this one in the middle, leaving us with this shape. Off the face of this block, we're going to want a lever. And then next, grab your redstone torches, because we're going to need one of those coming off the face of this block. Next, grab your repeater. And we're going to want our repeater on this block here with the arrow pointing this way. So we can place it just like that. And you can also leave it on 1 tick. Next, grab your redstone dust. We're going to want a piece here. Now you can see that the clock started the moment we placed it, so in order to turn that off, just flick the lever. Next, grab your building blocks. We're going to want 5 blocks coming off of right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Come around the back of those, and we're going to need another 5 starting here. From the side, it should look like that. Perfect, perfect. Now on these 5 blocks here, this is where we're actually going to want our sticky pistons. So grab your 3 pistons. We're going to want 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. In between the pistons, we could put a couple blocks just like that. So when we look from the front, we should see it like this. Come around the back of the build, we're going to put some power to these pistons. In order to do that, we're going to put a row of blocks starting here, just like that. Next, grab your redstone dust. We're going to want a piece here, and then all the way across this row of blocks. And as we done that, each piston extended just like that. All right, next, grab your sand. We're going to want a piece on the front of each piston. Grab your building blocks, and we're going to want 1 between the sand, just like that. All right, so go around the back of the build, hop up on top of the pistons like this. We're going to want a block here, and you can actually do this from the ground, sorry. So we're going to want a block here. This is a temporary. Put another block on top, break the one on bottom. And now we get up on top of the build. All right. On top of this block, we're going to want a redstone torch. On top of that torch, we're going to need another block. On top of that block, another redstone torch. And on top of that redstone torch, you guessed it, another block. Now we're also going to want a block coming off the side of this redstone torch, just like that. Okay. So we're also going to place the rest of our sand while we're up here. So go ahead and grab your sand, and we're going to want 2 pieces on top of each piston arm. Just like that. Go ahead and fill the gaps in between the sand with your blocks. Just like that. And we can also put 2 blocks on the top of each piston and other blocks in the back. Just like that. Now on top of this row of blocks, we're going to want another row of blocks, like that. And we're also going to want 4 more blocks coming off the side of this one, just like this. Grab your redstone dust, and we're going to run a line right across this back row of blocks. Perfect. All right, next, grab your pistons. These will be your normal pistons. We're going to want 1 here, but be careful when you place these because they will extend. So 1 there, 1 there, and before you place this one, grab your blocks because you'll need a couple temporaries. So put them in like that, and then put in your last piston. Perfect. Now go ahead and break the temporaries so you can get down. And if we look from the front, it should look like this. All right, let me give you a look from the back. And that should look like this. Perfect. All right, so go ahead and jump up into this area. But before we do that, we're also going to need a row of blocks across the front, like this. And as an aesthetic choice, if you want, you could also put a row of blocks coming up like this. All right, so now we can hop up here. Once you get up here, go ahead and grab your hoppers and your chests. Starting with the chests, we're going to want 1 here. So stand on this block, just jump up straight like that. And then do the same on this block. They'll connect up, making it a double. Next, grab your hoppers. The first 2 are going to go into the back of the chest like this. You'll have to crouch to place all these. And then the last 3 are going to point into this hopper. So 1, 2, and 3. Perfect. Right, break that temporary. All right, now at this point, we can start putting in our glass. So coming around to the side of the build, starting at the piston, we're going to want 4 pieces coming down almost everywhere. In this row, we're going to have one small difference. So we're going to put a piece here, skip this one, piece here, and then on these last 2 rows, you could put 4 pieces in each one. All right, so we'll do the same thing on this side. So again, starting at the piston, we're going to want 4 pieces. Piece here, skip this one, piece here, and then again 4 more pieces in each of the last 2 rows. Just like that. Okay, so next we want 3 pieces going across here. You'll have to crouch to place these so you don't open the inventories of the hoppers. Just like that. Next we want a row coming across the top of the chest. Like that. Another row coming across the very top, like this. This gap we left is actually going to be where the trapdoors go. But at this point, we're going to pillar all the way back to the top of the build so we could put in the last of our glass. All right, so go ahead and make sure you pillar all the way up, just like that. Okay, grab your glass, and you're going to want a piece on top of all open areas. So it should be 3 pieces each going right across. Just like that. Now when you're coming down, only break the first 2 of these temporaries so you can get to this area right here. And I would also suggest that you put a temporary block here and one on the other side to help you with this next part. So across here is where our trapdoors are going to go, but before we put those in, let's go ahead and put in our water. The water is not necessarily required because this is Cactus. However, I like it for the item flow, so this is totally up to you. To put it in, we're going to want our cursor on the side of this glass block, and go ahead and give it a place. When you do that, it should flow across the hoppers like that. Perfect. Alright, so now we can go ahead, we can grab our trapdoors. We're going to want one on top of each piece of glass, just like that. So we'll close these, we'll get down, we'll have a look at the build. Alright, so if everything is done correctly up until this point, your build should look like this. And at this point, we're almost done, folks. Almost done. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to use the farm and also discuss an option for filling in the gaps that we left during the build. So we are going to have to pillar back up here, so go ahead and do that. Open up the trapdoors. Now I'm also noticing one small mistake I made when we were doing the build. In order to be able to plant your cactus, we actually need to remove this block, and this block. And the reason for it is a cactus cannot have any block on any of the 4 faces on where it's planted. Otherwise, it'll just automatically break and turn into item form. However, now that we have the appropriate gaps, we are free to plant our cactus. So as an example, we'll go ahead and plant it just like that. However, we do have these gaps. Now, there is only one thing that I know of that we can do to fill these gaps, and it actually involves snow, if you can believe it. So, if you're in one of the hotter biomes, such as the mesa, the savanna, or the desert, this little trick may not work for you because the snow might melt, but I believe it should work in most other biomes. So a snow layer is the only block in the game that I know of that we can actually place beside a cactus. As an example, I'm going to go ahead, I'll fill this space, and then I'll plant a cactus. Alright, so as you can see, the space is full. It's essentially a snow block, but yet we can still plant our cactus, just like that. Now, if that was any other block, so like we'll say I'll put a piece of smooth stone there, I can't even plant the cactus. The game just won't let me at all. Isn't that cool? Alright, so let's go ahead. We'll fill up all these gaps with our snow layers. All right, and you can also fill these 2 gaps as well. Perfect. So it should look like that when you have them all full. And now in order to get snow layers, you will have to collect these with a Silk Touch shovel in a snowy biome. All right, now we should still be able to go ahead and plant our cactus. 1, 2, 3, just like that. Next, go ahead and close your trapdoors. Break the temporary blocks to get down, and in order to start the farm, just give the lever a flick. It will take a moment for the cactus to start growing. There we go. Perfect. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. I'll let this farm run for 5 minutes, and then when I come back, we'll talk numbers. All right, so I've just finished letting the farm run for 5 minutes, so let's take a look and see what we got. Whew, not too bad at all. So from what I'm seeing, that is 3 full stacks, plus an additional 21 items. I've gone ahead, I've done some quick math. So we're looking at approximately 213 items every 5 minutes, meaning every hour we're looking at approximately 2,500 items. Whew, not bad at all. Now that is certainly a lot of cactus, which most of us may never use, unless we have a dye shop or something to that effect, or we really just need a lot of green dye for whatever reason. So, that being said, there is an upgrade that we can make to this farm, which will allow it to start producing some bone meal. And that's actually what those extra components were for that I talked about at the start. Now, before I show you how to add that in, I noticed something while the farm was running that I wanted to take the time to address in case it happens to someone else who may build this in their world. While it was running, from time to time, an item would get stuck on top of these two snow blocks right here. So, if you're in a biome where you're lucky enough to actually use this trick, there's a couple things you can do to prevent that. One, you could continue running your snow layers right to the top. And again, these have to be snow layers. You cannot use full blocks of snow. Cactus will see those as a full block and they won't grow beside them. Another alternative is you could add in 2 more regular pistons, one here and one on the other side. So that way, even if an item did happen to land here, the piston would push it off. Now, if you're in a biome where you're not able to have the snow layers, you unfortunately will have to deal with the gaps because that is just the way cactus grows. But you are able to fill in these 2 spaces back here with just regular blocks. Those will not affect your cactus. The reason I didn't fill them in during the build is typically nothing ever really gets stuck on this block. If it's going to get stuck, it'll be right here. All right. Now, in order to add our bone meal feature, the first thing we need to do is break this block here. Next, grab your hoppers, pointing at the bottom of the chest, place it in like that. So the funnel should be pointing down. Next, break these 3 blocks. Next, grab your extra chests. We want one here and one here, so they link up to become a double. Next, grab your last extra hopper. We're going to want to place this while we're crouching, pointing at the side of the chest, like that. All right. Now, next, we are going to put in our composter, and you'll notice the moment we put this composter in, it will start draining the material from the hopper. So if we take a look, we can see the composter filling up. And every time it fills, it will create a piece of bone meal, which goes to here. Excellent, excellent. Now, however, let's say there comes a time when you no longer want the farm to produce bone meal because you need cactus, for whatever reason. Well, there's an easy way that we can actually add an on-off switch for that. So in order to do so, we're going to put a block on front of this hopper. To place it, you will have to crouch. And then on any of these 3 faces, we're going to put our last component, which was our extra lever. So in my case, I'm going to put it here. And you'll notice the moment I flick it, the noise from the composter stopped. That is because we have now locked the hopper. So what that means is this hopper will no longer accept any items from this chest, nor will it output any items into the composter. Now if I go ahead and we look in the chest, we can actually see that we actually had 5 items left, and that number's not going down. Now, if you want to start your bone meal production again, simply flick the lever. Alright, so again, if you want to get cactus from your farm, make sure the lever's in the down position, but if you want the farm to produce bone meal, make sure it is in the up position. Alright, now if anyone's going to be building this farm in their world and runs into any trouble or has any questions, please feel free to reach out to me in the comments below. I am more than willing to help anyone that's willing to give my tutorials a try. But on that note, that is all I have time for today. Once again, my name is Light, and thanks for stopping by. Bye!